Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is August 1st, 2024, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the highlight of the day, Nvidia gets a gap and go. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we start out the day, 1 p.m. South African time out of Great Britain. We have an official bank rate. That's an interest rate decision. And looking at later today at 4 p.m. South African time, ISM manufacturing PMI number coming out from the United States. Now, yesterday we had the FOMC, and it's had some ripple effects on the market. So starting out with the Forex symbols, US dollar strengthening versus most of the major pairs. And as we look at the indices, the NASDAQ gets a huge rally while the Dow Jones remains unchanged. Now, looking at commodities, oil spikes over $3 a barrel. Now, looking at the stocks, yes, Nvidia was the biggest gainer yesterday, and bank stocks actually selling off. Now, lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin retracing after hitting that double top. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go, first with the British pound, and as you can see, we're back to its supportish level right before this major number from Great Britain is going to come out today, interest rate decision. So previous resistance, subsequent support, that's where we're at. And 9 out of 10 it'll bounce out of it. However, you got to know the levels, and if it does change it, that's something to consider. Now, there's a new administration in the UK, and that's going to affect their economic policy as well, right? Remember the previous Theresa May before we had the previous prime minister, and the British pound went to 1 versus the dollar, which has never been happened, I don't think ever. So this is just a interesting place for us to be. Still, 127 is a decent place for the British pound to trade versus the dollar. Now, looking at the Canadian dollar, also didn't break out higher. Okay, this was where we discussed it. It did not break out from that. And then we're looking at a weekly chart, and it is retracing here. Now, okay, not retracing with full gamut, but this may be a decent short, okay, if it does continue to retrace. Now, looking at the Australian dollar, just struggling here not to break down further lower. I mean, it did sell off and then it bounced off of it, but it is looking very, very weak, so keep that in mind. Now, looking at commodities, first, starting out with gold, it did extend a rally, okay, to 24.50, but didn't sustain it, and we're retracing right now. Still a decent move on the upside for gold. If you look at a daily chart, that's just about 40 points from our all-time record highs. So we are trading in a range. Right? We're trying to figure out what that range is. Obviously, the upper range is 24.80. Lower range for right now is 23.65-ish level, okay? And we're on the upper part of this range, okay, as we're entering today's session. Now, looking at crude oil, look at that spike. Wow, in 1 day of trading, we went from 74.80 up to 78.60, okay, which is a decent $3 move in 1 day. Amazing, okay? However, keep in mind, again, this is also trading in a range, okay? It's not trending, it's trading in a range. So as we get anywhere above 79, to 80, that gets a bit of the upper range, okay? So there's a small-ish resistance area at 79.60 if it does reach that, okay? But otherwise, it may just falter. Now, looking at the U.S. markets, take a look at the NASDAQ yesterday. Also went orbital, okay? A tremendous move for the NASDAQ as it was the weaker one, right? So those that are shorted, that's short squeeze, moving even higher. The Dow Jones didn't really trade higher, didn't really trade lower yesterday, okay? Really just an uneventful day. However, if we look at the banks, JP Morgan did sell off to 212. If we look, Bank of America also selling off decently, okay, which we got that sell-off after these numbers. However, looking at Nvidia, okay, which was the worst stock. It was just so weak over the past, past month even, okay, since you can't see it on past month, but since, sometime in June 18th, okay, it's just been on a downward spiral as we hit a low of 101. Yesterday, we had a gap up and we got to go, okay, so we are hitting resistance area of 115.95. If it does break above it, we'll could see some more movement to the upside. Now, remember, Nvidia still has a corporate earnings to display to us, so that's still on looming. Now, yesterday, Meta did come out with its quarterly earning reports after the close, and so something to consider today as that's being absorbed with the market. And lastly, if we look at Bitcoin, there we go. Bitcoin making that double top at 67,896 and then retracing. So that's something to look at as well, as this is making a correctional move. All right, trading within the range, upper range, obviously 67 or 68-ish thousand. Okay, that's where I would guesstimate it to be, because it's not, it's not a perfect science. Trading is an art. This is Fed Razak. Want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.